What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Inov-8 F-Lite 260 knits. These are quite possibly one of my favorite training shoes now. They've been out for quite some time, but I finally just got my hands on them. There was a normal version, and then this is the updated knit version that they released not too long ago, maybe about 6 or 7 months ago. Finally got my hands on them, and I really love these shoes. So first off, the design is unmistakably Inov-8. It has all pretty much the same design cues that Inov-8 shoes tend to have. So if you like Inov-8's design, then you're gonna love these. If you didn't like the design from before, then you probably won't like these. But I do think that this still is one of Inov-8's best looking shoes. The 290s were really cool looking as well, in my opinion, but I think that these are better looking than those. First off, let's talk about some of the features of the shoe. So usually in the mid part of the shoe, Inov-8 shoes have these lines, and basically the shoelaces go into these insert points or the lace holes, and that connects to these lines, and it gives you a better fit around the middle part of your foot. On other shoes, it's like the adapter web. On these shoes, it's called the adapter knit. It's just there to give you a lockdown fit around the middle part of the shoe, and then also kind of has that Inov-8 look to it. You do have the Inov-8 logo on the side. Some people complain about that. I don't really think that that's a big deal. Where else would they put their logo? But anyways, the vamp of the shoe is the knit material. That is a little bit stretchy. It's a little bit more medium in weight. It's not lightweight. This is still a training shoe, so you still want a little bit of structure there, but there is definitely a little bit of stretch to the knit that Inov-8 uses. At the toe box of the shoe, there is a toe cap that's a little bit more reinforced at the very front part of the toe. It's not as much as some of Inov-8's older models, like the 235s have a really stiff toe box, the 250s have a really stiff toe box, and I did not like that about those shoes. It's there to protect your toes against burpees, but I never jam my toes into the ground when I do my burpees. It's definitely not going to protect you if you drop a weight on your foot. Another thing I like about the toe box of the 260s is that it kind of has more of a pointed toe, more like a running shoe. That just tends to fit my feet a little bit better. I didn't really like the square toe that was on the 235s and on the 250s because my toes would always just jam into the front of those shoes. Coming around to the ankle collar of the shoe, there's more of a thicker material. It's not TPU. I want to say it's just like normal polyurethane, and it's kind of just like an overlay in this area. It's still pretty flexible, but it gives you a little bit more structure around the ankle part of the shoe. There is a heel counter, kind of somewhat like Nike's Metcon 4. It doesn't go all the way around the heel, but it just goes around the sides and gives you a little bit more of a lockdown fit for your heel, a little bit more lateral stability back there. There's a pretty good amount of cushioning around the ankle collar, and overall I just thought the fit of these shoes was very comfortable. The laces are flat laces. They're actually a little bit thicker, and they feel really good. They stay tied. I never have any complaints with Inov-8's shoelaces, so good job to them on these ones. There is the option to lace lock. If you wanted to, if you wanted a little bit more of heel security, then you could definitely do that with that. I have not used it because I just have not felt the need to. And then you have a thinner tongue. It's ventilated, but it's not really padded, but I once again didn't think that that was anything to complain about. It was still very comfortable to wear these shoes. Inside of the shoe, there is an anatomical sock liner. It's a little bit thicker than what you've come to expect from typical Inov-8 stuff. It's actually 6 millimeters thick and gives you really good underfoot cushioning. These shoes, like I said before, are very, very comfortable to wear, and it's, I think, mainly due to part from the insole. The midsole of these shoes uses Inov-8's PowerFlow midsole. It's the same one that they used on the 250s and the 235s from before. It's actually a little bit more cushioned than the Exterraflow that they use on the 290s, but mainly the cushioning for the shoe is going to come from that insole. They're not really cushioned like the 230s that I reviewed a little bit ago, and they are still definitely training shoes. The drop on the 260s is 8 millimeters. The heel is 14 millimeters in height. The toe is 6 millimeters in height. And unlike running shoes, the 8 millimeter drop here is like very steep. So it's not like a gradual running shoe where the heel on those is mainly to give you cushioning. This is for the mobility reasons, for training purposes, so that you can get a little bit deeper into your squats easier without having to work as hard as you normally would with a flatter shoe, or if you just had poor mobility. Like all Inov-8 shoes, the number in the name stands for the weight in grams. These are the 260, so theoretically they should be 260 grams, but this is a bigger size than I think they normally do their weighing on. So I weighed these in at 281 grams for a men's size 10, which is 9.98 ounces. That's still really, really light for a training shoe. The outsole design is typical Inov-8 stuff. It kind of has that skeletal look to it. You have the Metaflex grooves all throughout the toe box, and all throughout the outsole of the shoe, all throughout pretty much all the outsoles in Inov-8 shoes, there's a lot of flex points, and that leads to Inov-8's having that insane amount of flexibility that they've just come to be known for. There is, in the middle part of the shoe, the dynamic fascia band, which is basically the midfoot shank in the shoe. Keeps you in motion a little bit better. And then you do have more flexible points at the heel, but overall, it's not that flexible, not like the toe box is. Of course, this is the gum bottom. Pretty much all of the colorways right now have the gum bottom, which is a different compound than what they're normally using with the other standard 260s. And in my testing, I felt like these had excellent grip. Whatever they're using here for the full-length rubber outsole is really, really good, and I thought it was better than the graphene that they're using for the 290s. Inov-8 uses a scale 1 through 5 to classify the width of their shoes, and the 260s fall at a 5. These are going to be the widest shoe that Inov-8 makes, but I still think the 235 V2s and the 275s are way wider than these shoes because they have that squarish toe box. That doesn't make these narrow, but I still don't feel like these are wide shoes by any stretch of the word. They're definitely on par with like the 290s, probably a little bit wider than those. They are wider than the 230s for sure. Those are like a 2 on Inov-8's fit scale. And for me and my average width feet, I thought that the 260s fit my feet the best out of pretty much anything that I've ever used from Inov-8. These shoes fit extremely well, but like I said before, they're not wide shoes. They're just wide for Inov-8 standards. I think the toe box of these shoes is on par with the Nike Metcon 4. It's very, very similar in feel or fit, and it's going to be a little bit more narrow than the Nano 8s. Still, I think these shoes are going to fit a variety of feet very well, but if you had really, really wide feet, especially in the middle part where your arches are, I'm going to say that these might not be the best choice for you. I got them in a size 10. My Nano 8s are a size 10. My Metcon 4s are a size 10. My Inov-8 230s were a size 10. Those ran a little bit on the long side, and my 290s were a size 10 as well, and those run a little bit on the short side. So these kind of fit in between the 230s and the 290s. The flexibility of these shoes is on par with what you've come to expect from a typical Inov-8 shoe. These are really flexible shoes to wear, and that makes them really good for running. It makes them really good for plyometric movements, burpees, double unders. Your feet never get sore wearing the 260s. They're not as flexible as the 230s and not even as flexible as the 290s, but I still think that compared to like Metcons, these are way on a different planet, more comfortable and more flexible to wear around. Even though they do have that raised heel, it's not there for like comfort reasons. It's mainly there just to give you a little bit more area to push against when you're doing your squats or anything. The main part of the comfort of these shoes comes from that 6mm insole, and while that's removable, I never thought that that detracted from the overall stability of the 260s. I think the 260s are probably the best training shoe that Inov-8 makes for lifting and stability purposes. The 290s were really, really good. I really like them as well, but I thought that the way that the outsole was designed on those shoes allowed for a little bit too much lateral movement, whereas it's a lot more stable on the 260s. I still think the Extero Flow midsole compound is a little bit more geared towards lifting than the Power Flow midsole compound is, and I do like the 4mm drop from the 290s compared to the 8mm drop of the 260s because I don't really have any issues with mobility or getting into depth. But overall, I still think the lateral stability of the shoe makes up for the higher drop and the softer midsole compound. If they were to somehow combine the 290s platform with the 260s lateral stability, then that would be like the ultimate shoe right there. Still, I felt comfortable doing pretty much any of my lifting in the 260s. The main comfort of these shoes comes from the insole, which is removable. If you didn't want to use it, you can get rid of it. But I never thought that that detracted from any of my lifts. For powerlifting movements, you do get that raised heel, so it allows you to achieve depth a little bit easier for squatting. But at the flip side, it does elongate your pull for your deadlifts. So it kind of balances each other out. You're just going to have to pick and choose depending on the workout for when you want to use the 260s. For Olympic weightlifting, I thought that these were much better than the 290s. Like I said before, these have better lateral stability because there's just more prominent edges for the outsole, and the grip is excellent on these shoes. As an overall training and lifting shoe, altogether, though there are some minuses to having that heel, I still think that these are the best lifting shoe that Inov-8 makes. If that heel really bugged you for deadlifts, then just take off your shoes. The 260s retail for $140. That's going to be a little bit more expensive than your standard $130 flagship training shoe price, but I still think that these shoes are definitely worth it. It's going to be way worth it for people that want the mobility of a weightlifting shoe but don't want to lose the functionality of a training shoe. This is the best blend of having that raised heel but not sacrificing on flexibility and comfort, and being able to just run, do plyometric movements in your standard training shoes. These are, in my opinion, the best weightlifting shoe that Inov-8 makes, other than obviously they're just normal weightlifting shoes. For a plyometric shoe, you could do a little bit better. I think that the 230s are probably better for like running. They're a little bit more comfortable for like box jumps, burpees, and stuff like that. But these are no slouch either. If you were to put these up against the 290s, I still think that the 290s have a better platform for like lifting. They're going to be a better deadlifting shoe. But overall, I think that the 260s and their wider contact area makes these a better shoe for just weightlifting in general. So if you needed something that assisted you for your mobility, but you didn't want to lose out on the functionality of a training shoe, and you wanted something flexible, something comfortable, something easy to wear for pretty much anything that you're doing at the gym, the 260s are a top pick. And these are some of my favorite training shoes at the moment. If you guys have any questions about the Inov-8 F-Lite 260s, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.